Hello. This is going to be a quick video around training volume. So I'm often asked, how do I put together a training program? How much work do I need to do? How many times do I need to be in the gym? How many sets do I need to be performing per muscle group? Okay. These questions and the answers to them outline a lot of the uh, uh, foundational programming principles, and it makes it very clear how much time you actually need to work to maintain progress, make progress, optimize progress. What is the minimum dosage? How high can you go before you hit diminishing returns? I'm going to answer these questions here. So, how many sets per week? How much volume do we need to optimize? Is more volume better, right? Because we often have the assumption that more work is better, but training, like many other things in life, is going to encounter a degree of diminishing returns. And the more work you do, there is going to be a greater diminishing return. Having said that, I think many people overstate the wastefulness of doing higher amounts of work, when in reality, it doesn't mean that if you were to do a high amount of work that it would result in no progress. No, it just means that you're getting less stimulus per unit of input, right? You're getting less output per unit of input, but it is still output and it is still results. And if you're looking to optimize your progress, then that might be something that you are after, right? So let's get into this. I pulled this information from the most recent, and as far as I am aware, to my knowledge, the most comprehensive meta-analysis on training volume. Okay, this is a 2024 meta-analysis, so still very recent, and they pulled together 67 total studies across 2058 participants across studies that have a minimum of 4 weeks of training. All right, and these are high quality studies. Okay, and what did they find? In summary, both strength and hypertrophy are dose dependent, meaning that you do more work and you get more results to a point. Both show diminishing returns, and strength in particular showed more diminishing returns than hypertrophy, meaning that you can get away with doing more work for the intention of muscle growth, but beyond a certain point for strength, it might not be more beneficial. It tends to flatline a bit sooner. Having said that, training frequency was shown to be more beneficial, albeit modestly, when it comes to strength training. This is why when it comes to a performance goal, like let's say you want to increase your bench press, you want to hit your first 2 plate bench press, I would recommend that you train your bench 2 to 3 times per week across different variations, across different rep ranges. And that high frequency is going to be beneficial for strength performance, because lifting is a skill. And if you can get more exposure to a skill, like any skill in life, you're going to get better at it. So in the case of a bench press, the more you bench press, obviously you're not maxing out every session that you are doing, but you're getting more reps in your week, and that is going to result in better proficiency with the bar path, with your leg drive, with maintaining thoracic extension. You're getting more exposure, and hence your skill is going to be refined. And strength is very skill specific, because the difference between someone who is just, as I would say, let's say brute strength, versus someone who's a technician with their bench press, who's going to come out on top? Assuming there's not a massive discrepancy in their strength, the technician who is better with their bench press technique is probably going to yield a higher 1RM. They're going to lift more weight because they can time their leg drive. They can use a technique that is suitable for that. Their bar path will be absolutely pristine, even under high loads, compared to someone who just bounces off their chest and uses everything, and they might just to lift the damn thing at the expense of good bar path and technique. So strength improved modestly with higher frequency. Now, here's the answer around how much volume should you be doing. For most people, the sweet spot is around 8 to 10 sets per muscle group per week, and you can divide that across 2 sessions. So let's just take chest for example, right? 8 to 10 sets. That might look like 4 to 5 sets per session across 2 upper body sessions, right? If you're running a 4-day per week upper body split, 4 to 5 sets of chest in one day, 4 to 5 sets of chest in the other day, and that could be across your bench press, an incline press, and a fly variation or a push-up variation. Ideally, you spread that out across more than one day, because if you did 8 to 10 sets in one session, you may find that the first maybe 4 to 6 sets are high quality, but towards the end, the quality starts to go down because you're just spending more time in the gym. There's an accumulation of psychological, emotional, and also physical fatigue, which is going to mask your true performance and fitness in the lifts that are positioned at the end of your session, which is why frequency or the organization of your allocated volume is a good tool, is a good way to organize this effectively, right? So find the sweet spot. And I recommend that if you've been off the gym for a while, you're not as consistent as you would like, don't just ramp every muscle group up to 8 to 10 sets per week. You might find that you're going to be very sore on the first couple of weeks. Build it up depending on where you are starting right now. I dare say for most people, it's usually one side of the spectrum. It's either someone is not in the gym enough and they're like very casual and not committing to a session. Like it might be like one session per week and then they have 2 sessions and it's just like, it's quite inconsistent. There isn't a consistency week to week in the frequency or even the exercise selection. It's just a mess. In which case you would start on the lower end. Just get good at doing 4 to 6 sets per muscle group per week across, 2 sessions or across 3 full body sessions, ideally, and then work your way up. Or I find someone exists on the other side of the spectrum because they love training and they're doing too much. They're doing plus 12 sets, 15 sets for most muscle groups, 6 times a week in the gym. And it's a high volume of work. There's just smashing arm volume, chest volume, lots of flies, push-ups, finishes, because they love training. They love the sensation of it. They love the muscle pump. But in reality, the results were diminishing long ago, right? So in that case, it's scaling back the volume and squeezing out more progress from intensity, because a large amount of volume that is poor quality or is a sub-maximal amount of effort. And what I mean by that is you're training, you're doing a lot of work, but it's not really like pushing you. You're not getting to those reps where you're failing, where you're grinding, where the rep speed is slowing down. Those are the reps that are going to define a worthwhile set. And doing, 8 to 10 sets or 8 to 12 sets of hard sets of, say, quad work is hard. Like, you're going to be sore. And if you can manage like 12 to 15 sets of quads more, you are probably just not training hard enough, right? I dare say that it's likely a quality issue, not a quantity issue. In this case, it's pulling things back, learning how to push yourself hard enough where you require less volume. And the benefit of this is you're saving so much time, because higher volume training, one, aside from it being often suboptimal or poorly applied, is also going to eat up into other priorities in your life, which if you're already struggling to handle your gym training and fit it into the chaos of other commitments, then it's a double negative, okay? So find a sweet spot of volume, build it up to 8 to 12 sets per muscle group per week, right? For most times, that's training a muscle twice per week to get it in. Do this across 3 to 4 sessions, right? I find this allows the sessions to be contained and not too long. If you try to fit in all of that work across 3 full body sessions, your sessions will be like 90 minutes or longer. Not ideal, especially if you're resting enough to actually give your best effort each time you do a set. Hence, ideal sweet spot for most people, in my experience coaching many different people across the years, is building up to 4 sessions with an upper lower split is great. It's great for consistent progress, consistent overload, and just a fantastic place to be. Plenty of time to do other things in life, and really that's like 4 hours per week if it's a 1 hour session 4 times per week. Upper lower. All right. So your maximum amount of work is also going to be influenced by your nutrition, your recovery. If you're in a calorie deficit, or you're just not eating enough, or you have poor eating habits, try maximizing the amount of work you can do. It's going to be very difficult. Your ceiling is going to be a lot lower compared to if you were more well fed, if you're more well rested, if you had a better handle of your stress. These are all other factors that are going to eat into your ability to recover, and therefore recover specifically from your training volume. So that's going to be a limiter. It's going to be a rate limiter to the amount of volume you can do. In other words, your maximum recoverable volume is going to be not as high as it could be for most people. Makes sense, right? Now, other considerations include your calorie deficit. Like if your calories are below like maintenance, like let's say you're dieting down or you're deep in a deficit. I'm not going to say like you're 2 weeks into a deficit and you start to lose your training performance. That's most likely psychological, or you're just accepting you've noceboed yourself, most likely. I'm talking like deep into a deficit where it's, week 10 plus, and okay, you're starting to feel some of the negative consequences of dieting in terms of diet fatigue, lethargy, appetite increase, and irritability, and so forth. In that case, your recoverable volume is probably going to be lower. Might need to pull it back a little bit, or introduce something like a deload week if required. Got a guideline here. As you can see, I've got the amount of sets per muscle per week, followed by a very brief description of where that sits in the amount of results you get from it, and then the estimated progress that you get from that as a percentage. So if you think about the first 4 to 6 sets per muscle group per week, you're getting a large amount of the gains from that, which is why going from doing nothing to something is such an increase in health, training, physique, performance. Obviously, it's still the minimum dose, but doing that compared to nothing is so incredibly health promoting, and just so many good things happen, right? This is why everyone should be doing at least the bare minimum, because you're already getting, say, 2/3 of the way on the upper end. By the way, these estimations are again just pulled from the meta-analysis that I mentioned at the start of the video. 8 to 10 sets is a high return of investment zone. So this is a great place to be. Across 4 sessions per week, fantastic. 12 to 18 sets, you're still getting gains, but the diminishing returns is starting to manifest a little bit stronger here. But again, I don't want to overstate it. Diminishing returns does not mean no progress. It just means that per unit of input, you're getting slightly less output. And if you're going high volume, like above 20 sets, 18, 20 sets plus, very rarely would someone do this unless you're, say, trying to prioritize a muscle group and just hammer it. So for example, if you're trying to just emphasize your shoulders and get some big, juicy rear delts and lateral delts and front delts, then yeah, maybe higher volume might work for a period of time as a specialization phase. But understand that the later volume that you do is going to be experiencing a high degree of diminishing returns. But if you're looking to maximize, it's a valid strategy as well. All right, and frequency is just going to be our way that we organize our sessions. So the volume or the quantity and the intensity of your training, so pushing hard and to failure or close to failure within 0 to 2 reps away from failure, all the time, that is the quality, plus your technique. Of course, technique is also a qualitative part of your training, but the training frequency or the amount of times that you're in the gym is going to be a way to organize your session. Because again, try doing 8 to 12 sets of a given muscle group in just one session. You might find that you're just hammering the same muscle group. You're going to experiencing a lot of fatigue that's going to mask your true potential. And plus, that's only for one muscle group. You got to go do your other muscle groups as well. Even if it's like an upper lower split, 8 to 10 sets per muscle group in your upper body. That's 8 to 10 sets of delts, chest, back, abs if you count that as upper body, and arms. There are smarter ways to distribute the same amount of work across the week so that your sessions are constrained, are limited in time, they're efficient, and the quality overall is higher, right? So this is where that 4th session, and for some rare cases, a 5th session as well, if you want to keep the quality high and you're doing higher volume as well. How much is too much? Well, as I said before, this is going to be individual dependent, but this is a good guideline, okay? So if you have a training program or you're looking to get into a training program, if you already have one, run these, count how many sets you are doing per muscle group. Filter it through this video and the recommendations stated in this based on my recommendations as a coach, but also what the most recent meta-analysis has found, and see where you sit in this. If you are not making progress and you're hitting a good amount of volume already, it falls into it, then it's probably your training intensity. Most likely it is your training intensity. 9 times out of 10, it is your training intensity. You're not training hard enough. Go to failure on lifts and see where you actually are. All right. When I say failure, I mean like failure. Failure does not mean that you barely get out a rep. Failure means you attempt a rep with all your might and you do not get it. Do this on safe exercises like machines, cables, and dumbbells, not on barbell work. Then recalibrate whether you can introduce that level of effort into the amount of volume that you're doing. And if you cannot, then it's an effort issue, not a quantity issue. If you're training hard and you find that you're just not in the gym often enough, and your average dosage per set per muscle group is like down here because of the inconsistency in your gym attendance, then in that case, you just need to be more consistent and get more exposure. You need more volume, you need more sets, you need more reps in your week. And if you're going super high here, you're doing drop sets, intensifiers, you're doing whatever method there is, that's just a lot of reps, and it's leaning into junk volume territory or work that you're doing that isn't necessarily contributing to further stimulus, then drop your volume, let yourself recover. I know you love training, but you only benefit from the training that you recover from and adapt, right? And there's a difference here. Recovery is being able to do the session that you did, repeat it with the same weights, the same reps. You've recovered enough to do it again. Adaptation is what we're after. Adaptation is being able to exceed your previous effort. And that is essentially what progressive overload is. Progressive overload is a result of productive training. It is the adaptation we're after. And that's reflected through increased performance, right? You should be pursuing performance in your training. Like, I don't care if you don't care about strength and you just want to get bigger. Hypertrophy training is strength training. You have to get stronger in your lifts. You can't get bigger without getting stronger. Although you can get stronger without getting bigger, but that's a different topic. I hope this answers a lot of the questions. If you need help running through your program, send it my way. Coach Jaka on Instagram, drop me a message. I'll have a look for your program. Or of course, if you want to get a more in-depth experience with getting the most out of your training, then message me and I'm more than happy to help out. I'll see you in the next one.